Thanks very much for tuning in to Unmissable. I'm Nabila Jamal right here on News 9. I take you through news from India and across the globe. We're going to delve straight into our top story. What if I told you that your sunscreen may not be doing the job it promises to do? It does not protect you from the sun as it promises. Australia has now banned nearly 20 sunscreen products, and there are global ramifications. We're going to tell you what are the do's and don'ts with our panel of experts here today on sunscreen that you use every day. And of course, we will dive into Siddharth Sharma, who's the manager of Zubeen Garg. It appears there's talk around Siddharth and his sincerity in this case. He was absconding. He knew that Zubeen had epilepsy seizures and he had a problem in the past, but yet allowed him to go into the water. So Zubeen's wife at this point casting aspersions. And of course, finally, we're going to take you through all our stories on our top list of day to night. Let me, as always, start with the headlines first. Mysuru sky dazzles with Guinness World Record drone show. Nearly 3,000 drones lit up the Mysuru Dasara sky at Banimanta Parade Ground. Massive tiger artwork formed with 2,983 drones set a new world record for the largest aerial image of a mammal, the tiger. Mohan Bhagwat addresses key issue of US tariffs, RSS chief, against India, warning that the country must not be forced by imports amid US tariff tiff, urges Swadeshi self-reliance while maintaining friendly diplomatic ties. Remember, this comes in the backdrop of 100 years of RSS celebrations that's currently on. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi, speaking at EIA University in Colombia, says NDA government's actions pose a major risk to India's democratic framework, calls structural flaws in a system the key challenge that India will have to correct. Uttar Pradesh shuts internet in Bareilly for nearly 48 hours over protests on I Love Muhammad poster. The row that escalated to different parts of Uttar Pradesh, and so 48 hours in Bareilly, no internet. You also see heightened security, PSC, RAF, drones deployed during the Sara and Durga Puja festivities to maintain calm and order. Now, Rishabh Shetty, Kannada superstar, period folk action thriller Kantara Chapter 1, clocks in 29 crores till 4 p.m. on the first day of its release. Becomes the second biggest Kannada film after KGF. Now, first day collection is expected to cross 50 crores. Football legend Lionel Messi has confirmed his participation in the much anticipated GOAT Tour of India in December 2025. Messi's tour will end with meeting Prime Minister Modi. Events include concerts, football, masterclasses, celebrity meetups, and a giant mural unveiling. He's going to be playing. That match is going to be held in Kerala. Pakistan police stormed the Islamabad Press Club, violently attacking journalists and activists protesting atrocities in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir amid growing dissent and deep state embarrassment over POK situation. 3 killed, 3 seriously injured after assailant drives a car into pedestrians and stabs security guard near Manchester synagogue. Suspect shot by the police amid bomb threat. UK Prime Minister Starmer promises to keep Jewish communities safe. Elon Musk becomes the first person worth $500 billion. Tesla CEO's fortune hits $500 billion, surpassing Larry Ellison. Stock rises, holdings 12% stake in Tesla. All right, before I start, I'm going to wish all our viewers a very happy Dussehra and Vijayadashmi today. Let me start with our top story on SPF. Is your sunscreen really safe? At least Australia does not think so. The one product most of us, men, women, across the world really use on a daily basis, sometimes even twice, is sunscreen. But what if I tell you that sunscreen that you're applying may not be protecting you at all? In fact, you may be just getting conned by the sunscreen companies. I'm not saying all, but this is exactly what's found in Australia. Now, Australia, a sunscreen scandal has exploded, with the government now cracking a whip and pulling off shelves nearly 18 products. They, after independent testing by Australian agencies, found that they offered only a fraction of the protection that they promised. Now, for example, take ultraviolet lean skin sunscreen. In fact, Ultraviolet's lean screen sunscreen. It's marketed as SPF 50 plus. Tests have revealed that it was closer to only SPF 4, essentially useless. The product was recalled in August. Australia's medicines regulator, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, has now flagged about 20 more sunscreens in the country, many sharing the same base formula. And they believe it's not giving any protection. Officials warn that some products may test as low as SPF 4. So far, 8 have been recalled, 10 are paused, others remain under review. So it's certainly alarming. We're also looking at some of the big brands like Neutrogena, Banana Boat, Bondi Sands, and the Cancer Council feature on the list. Though they dispute these findings, adding to the worry, some products also tested positive for benzene, a cancer-causing chemical that's linked to leukemia and blood disorders. Australia is now already the skin cancer capital of the world. 2 out of 3 Australians are said to have at least one skin cancer cutout in their lifetime. That's why it's quite important that sunscreen that you're using is effective enough. And here we're looking at Australia imposing the most stringent sunscreen rules globally. Unlike in Europe and India, where sunscreen is considered a cosmetic, in Australia particularly, it's regulated as a therapeutic good, basically a medicine. Of course, Australia now, while it cracks a whip, all of this scandal began in June, where a report by consumer advocacy group Choice, which found popular sunscreens failing independent SPF checks, that triggered the TGA's sweeping investigation across brands. Now, what does this mean for consumers? Experts say, first, stop using recalled products immediately and get a refund if you can. Second, application still matters. A full teaspoon of sunscreen for every part of your body is mandatory if you're going out in the sun. And remember, this is a very complicated relationship that Australians have with the sun. There's this whole trend of getting a nice tan. But while you want a tan, you also need to put sunscreen enough to protect you from the UV rays. And it seems like the brands that are promising to do that aren't really effective enough. So wear the right clothes, wear a hat, layer yourself up with the good brand of sunscreen. These are things that you should do to avoid skin cancer. Well, since skin cancer doesn't seem to be a problem in India as such, the way it seems to be an epidemic almost in Australia. What if your sunscreen isn't delivering the SPF it really claims? With testing standards now under global scrutiny, the scandal may have consequences far beyond Australia because many of the same products are sold worldwide. For now, regulators are racing to restore trust, but until that happens, customers are left now scrambling which sunscreen to use. If I could bring in our panelists to give us a little sense on the dangers of using sunscreens that do not promise to actually deliver SPF 50 is what they say. Some of them also delivering just SPF 4. So it's shocking. Let me bring in Dr. Anup Dheer, Senior Consultant Cosmetic Surgeon, Apollo Hospital. We also have Dr. Akriti Chawla, Dermatologist, Bharti Taneja, Founder, Director, ALPS Beauty Group. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Let me start with Dr. Anup Dheer. Dr. Anup, your take, shoot right off the bat. Sunscreens may not be delivering what it promises. SPF 50 plus that shows on brand packaging, ultimately you're getting only SPF 4. And that's led to skin cancer, at least that's what's attributed to a reason for why there's a spike in skin cancer in Australia. What are your views?
Well, my view is that it's a big time regulatory failure. The set standards are not being followed and the agencies have been negligent in checking it at the right time. Now, many cancers have erupted and there's a cancer epidemic almost because of these sunscreens, and now they are realizing that the sunscreens they are using are not effective. So they need to sort out their regulatory mechanisms so that sunscreens do deliver, especially the zinc sunscreens like they're just delivering 4 SPF. Those zinc sunscreens are reputed to be very effective, but they're just delivering 4 SPF. So that's a big problem, and the solution lies in strict compliance and stopping.
They're having such strict regulation. How do you think something like this slipped through so easily? And they're known to be the skin cancer capital of the world. So despite that, there wasn't enough regulation. Is shocking.
Well, there could be some testing differences also. I mean, the different labs test these in different ways. Maybe the labs which check the original sunscreens, they showed it to be a better SPF. I cannot know anything about that sitting here, but probably there can be some testing differences, but testing differences can't be 50s to 4. 50 SPF delivering 4 SPF is definitely shocking, and they need to change their regulatory standards and do strict compliance.
Just to make it a little more comprehensive for our viewer, not wearing adequate sunscreen and exposing yourself to the sun. You know, Australians especially love the ocean. They want to sit on the beach, get themselves tan, but yet wear a sunscreen and still get a slight tan. That's what they love, and you know, most Western countries are similar, and they love doing that. But yet they're asked to wear a sunscreen. How long in the sun can really lead to damage?
Well,
one
the
day,
problem,
1 hour.
Problem in Australia is that there's a lot of ultraviolet radiation, and most of the people are fair-skinned. In Indians, it's less of a problem, because our skin has better melanin content, and we are better insulated against the sun and the ultraviolet rays. So there's a difference between what is there in Australia and what is there in India. In India, we use sunscreen as a cosmetic, not as a tool to prevent the cancer, skin cancer, because skin cancer has got very little chance of developing in Indian skin, because it has a lot of melanin. That's the basic difference. So we need not panic in India, but in India also we need strict compliance, and so that similar sunscreens do not come to our market.
So from what I hear, I understand for us even SPF 4 is okay then.
No, SPF 4 is not okay. Certainly not okay.
All right.
Indian skin needs at least SPF 20, 15 or 20.
Now, but my only thing is, if Australian brands which are actually sold under, you know, they're basically medicine. It's not cosmetic, it's medicine. And if it's in that category, how did it really skip through those regulatory checks? That's what's shocking. Let me bring in Dr. Akriti as well. Doctor, your take on this. Should Indians worry at all? I understand we have better melanin, whatnot, and you know, we don't have the same problem as white-skinned people. But the heat and the sun in India is as blaring and maybe worse. And most of us are advised by doctors to use SPF plus. And if these sunscreen products in Australia do not have SPF 50, some of the brands there like Neutrogena, Banana Boat were also tested. They did not also pass through the regulation or the test, but they have now disputed it. But nonetheless, what's your take? How can an Indian be wary and careful while using a sunscreen? It's a daily use product.
I feel that you should understand what SPF is to begin with. SPF is basically the amount of protection you get depending on whatever your sunscreen is absorbing, the ultraviolet radiation. So if you're saying the SPF is say 30, that means you're getting 96.7% protection. Now, if you increase the SPF by say 10, SPF 40, then the increase in the protection is not much. It is only 97.8. Now, SPF 50 will give you a 98% protection. SPF 4, on the other hand, will only give you 75% protection. So what does this mean for the consumer? Yes, Indian skin is very different from the Australian or the European American skin. The difference when you see the skin is in the type of the skin, as in how it responds when it is exposed to sunlight or UV radiation, whether it will burn and turn red or it will result in tanning, or it will result in permanent pigmentation or photo damage. The whole point of using sunscreens is to prevent photo damage. Now, our skin, responds in different ways when it is exposed to UV radiation. The tanning is the immediate thing that you see, which will also resolve with time as the skin renews itself and it changes with seasons. The UV damage, now that is cumulative. It does not occur in one day. You cannot prevent it by applying sunscreen on one day. It is cumulative. What does that mean? That it will accumulate over the years, over the 35 years, and then you'll start seeing pigmentation around your temples, on your cheeks,
And even with
forehead.
Indian skin,
Yes, in Indian skin, you will typically, I see patients who have sun damage on the forehead, around the temples, on the cheeks. You'll see permanent darkening that will not go with your over-the-counter creams or any treatments, and you have to go for stricter treatments like laser or peeling for that. So that is UV damage. Now, when it comes to cancer risk in Indians, yes, basal cell carcinoma does occur in Indians, and with prolonged cumulative sun exposure. What does that mean? That for 50, 60 years, you've had a lot of sun exposure. Perhaps you're living, somewhere in the hill stations, or even if, you have somebody who had a job where you were out and about for most of the duration, especially the peak daylight hours, that is, 3 hours before noon and 3 hours after noon, when the sun exposure is maximum. If you've had cumulative sun exposure over the years, your risk for BCC is there. And something as simple as applying a cream can prevent it. But a big disclaimer, sunscreen use has to be in a proper fashion. You have to use the right quantity. Like you had said, 1 teaspoon is the general rule you can follow. So what is the rule? That you use 1 teaspoon for your face and neck, 1 teaspoon for your upper extremities, that is your arms and forearms, each, 1 teaspoon each, 1 teaspoon for your torso, and 1 teaspoon you use for, 2 teaspoons you use for your legs. So that is by and large,
This is if you're exposed to the sun, if your arms and legs are exposed to the sun. But what if you're just wearing your clothes and which is covering?
But you have to understand that when it comes to clothing, the clothing has to be a double weave cloth in order to prevent UV radiation to penetrate the cloth and go to your skin. So, a lot of people, if you're wearing dresses or shorts, or, you're on the beach, or, you're exercising and you're running out in the sun, you are exposing your legs. So, applying sunscreen, yes, it is a good habit, and it's a good thing that you apply sunscreen in order to prevent your skin. The fact that, skin cancer is not very common. See, skin cancer is also of different types.
Before you get there, my question is, doctor said that Indians do not need to worry because darker skin tone has more melanin, etc.
Yes.
But in India also there are a wide range of skin tones. You have the North Indians who are really fair, and even lots of people in the South are fair. So does that also fall into the equation that fair skin in India also are safe?
See, the thing is, when it comes to fairness, darkness, it actually, how your skin will respond to the UV exposure, that will change. Whether it will burn, it will tan, or how much photo damage will occur. But when it comes to cancer risk, one day you're standing out in the sun is not going to increase your cancer risk. It is always cumulative, like I said. It is not one
which
day.
is why it's very important to ensure you choose the right sunscreen. But we don't know what's the right sunscreen. Maybe you can advise. But Dr. Anup, before I go to Bharti, you wanted to say.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the bottom line. The bottom line is that in India, we use it for cosmetic purposes. And the truth is that people who stand in the sun, who work in the sun, they cannot afford any sunscreen. Most of the laborers cannot afford any sunscreen, and people who can afford sunscreen, they stay indoors most of the time. So that reduces the risk to a significant amount, even if you are fair-skinned North Indian.
Okay. So I'd just like to add a point here that what Sir said is obviously right, that people who can afford sunscreens tend to stay indoors. But in this day and age, you cannot avoid the fact that there's a lot of blue light screen exposure, which has increased tremendously.
Correct.
So, even if you're indoors, as a dermatologist, I always recommend that you use your sunscreen just once.
And I've been told that too. See, look, just anchoring. I have a lot of lights in my studio, and the lights are harsh. Even for that, I'm told that I need to use a sunscreen before my makeup to be on air. I need to use a sunscreen, even though I'm not in the sun, just because of the lights. Is that right?
It's not just the light. The major problem is the UV radiation, and somewhere or the other,
and that comes through your phone, through your laptop, just any screen.
Any screen, even though your CFL bulbs, it does.
Right, Ms. Bharti, your take on this. This is just, of course, left us a little worried on what kind of sunscreens to use. What's your advice?
Yeah, sunscreen is actually, it's not only for the sun, as we said, everybody said, it is for everybody, because we are the light, we have to use sunscreen. But sunscreen should be applied nicely. That's the first thing, you know. Once we use sunscreen, it has to be on the skin, which cleaned and clean skin, and we have to put good amount of sunscreen, as everybody told. We have to use at least 1 teaspoon for face and neck, and same way as she said. But there's one very important thing. If we talk about girls or ladies which go out, they can use makeup also, because makeup also makes the sunscreen stay for a longer time. One thing, but don't think we have sun screen in makeup also. There are makeup which are sunscreen added, but don't depend on them. So use sunscreen and then use any kind of makeup. That will help you to keep it for a longer time. But still, I say after 2-3 hours, and if it is 50, then maybe we can keep it for 3 hours, and after 3 hours, we have to reapply. So reapplying again is very, very important. And one another thing which I would like to add, sunscreens are not only to protect you from the sun, but I feel that helps you to protect you from wrinkles, from fine lines. That also helps. So we have to be really careful that we have to use sunscreen and use it in the right way. Put it on a skin when it is clean skin, put it right amount, and then if you want to put makeup, you can do it. And use some other things also, like you can use umbrella, you can use a hat or scarf. That also will help you to
Correct. Sunscreen.
And one very important thing, sometimes, you know, there's no sun. It's a rainy season or other season, or in the morning, 6 o'clock. If you go to the park at 6 o'clock, even then we feel that there's no sun. When it is no sun, we feel. But that time also, sunscreen is really, really important.
But somehow I feel
cloudy, sunscreen is important.
I feel Dr. Anup didn't quite buy this narrative, and
yes,
you know,
just a minute.
I just want to give an example of my own mother. My mother is told that she looks young even at her age. She says that people tell her that you look so young. You know, what do you do? What is the routine she does? And I know for a fact that she has not used a sunscreen in her whole life. She has never used a sunscreen. She uses a basic Nivea cream and then probably slight makeup over it. But she's fine. So I don't know how far this sunscreen obsession.
Let me tell you the downside of using sunscreens.
Okay, the downside of using sunscreen. I want to hear that.
Many of the ingredients have
I'll come to you, Bharti. I'll just come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Many of the ingredients in sunscreens have been found to be carcinogenic. There are plenty of reports to that. And the second thing is severe, if you apply it religiously, as advised, severe vitamin D deficiency. Sunscreen is one of the leading causes of vitamin D deficiency, and that is very serious problem at times. So there are downsides also.
The question that I wanted to ask.
For your bomb, you know, if you want to ask for that,
yes,
I will say one very important thing. See, all the ladies previously, they were not using sunscreen. Many people yet don't use sunscreen. But the thing is, if you use something at home, in the time when you take bath, you use some scrub, some homemade scrub. So every day, whatever sun damage is there in a day, you can just remove that damage every day if you scrub. When we say scrub, people say you don't have to scrub every day, but scrubbing for few seconds, that will have 10 to 15 seconds.
And scrubbing does not mean with like a sandpaper material kind of scrub.
Yes,
it could just be with a piece of papaya, just a piece of papaya and rub it in.
That's what I said. You use herbs, scrub your face every day, the effect of sun, whichever is there in the whole day, that will go off. Even sometimes, many a time I don't use sunscreen for many days, but I do scrub every day in the morning before at the time of bath. So that also removes the effect of sun,
Lovely.
whatever is there the whole day. So
Yeah.
that also makes a lot of difference.
Nice.
As like your mom, all the females people, I mean, they never use sunscreen for so many years.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That generation was different. They didn't care for sunscreen. We now are so conscious about it. But
there's one difference. No, your mom, she was not in the sun most of the time. People who are in the sun the
she
whole
was
day.
an absolute tomboy all through her college, and she's a working woman even now. She handles schools. She runs
That's
to schools
good.
herself.
That's really good.
She's with
That's
the
really
children.
good.
She's out on the field. She does a lot of sun activity. But she wears very light makeup. But I don't know if that's a defense.
But again, I tell you, as I was telling,
Makeup
if you
also
apply
has
makeup,
SPF.
that also makes a layer on your skin,
Correct.
and it definitely protects you from the sun. That also makes a difference.
Okay. Dr. Anup, I really want to delve a little more into the side effects of sunscreen. Please tell us a little more. There was this theory that was doing the rounds, which was shut off, very quickly. But there was talk around how sunscreen applying sunscreen like that obsessively can lead to vitamin D deficiency and what are the others?
100%. Most of the cases who wear sunscreen, even while sunbathing on the beaches, they get vitamin D deficiency. As it is, most of the 80% of the 70% or 80% of Indians are severely deficient in vitamin D because we do not expose ourselves to sunlight. And if we go out in the sun, we put sunblock all over. So you would not get your necessary dose of vitamin D unless you get it checked and you kind of take it orally, you are at severe risk because vitamin D is now almost labeled as a hormone. A lot of problems in the body can occur. And another thing about sunscreen is it's driven by pharmaceutical agenda. So they create a demand by planting these stories that if you don't use sunscreen, you will die of cancer. It doesn't happen that way, at least in India. Definitely, sun aging can be prevented by using sunscreen regularly, but only on the face. You can't be using it all through your body, otherwise you'll get severe vitamin D deficiency.
Dr. Akriti?
So, as far as vitamin D deficiency is concerned, as Sir rightly said, 70 to 80%, actually more than that, about 90% Indians are deficient in vitamin D because we don't sunbathe. For adequate vitamin D synthesis, you need to expose at least 70% of your body surface area for a minimum duration of 20 to 25 minutes between the timing of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, unless and until you're doing that, it's not going to synthesize enough vitamin D. Now, coming to sunscreen use and vitamin D, when it comes to vitamin D, there are a lot of studies that have been done by the British Journal of Dermatology and a couple of other studies, even a couple of studies in the US, that said that the sun protective measures like umbrella and clothing actually have a significant impairment in the vitamin D synthesis as opposed to sunblock use. So till now, I don't know if it is just the studies or if it's pharmaceutical company driven, but till now there has been no study that has conclusively given evidence that sunscreen use decreases vitamin D levels because of blocking UV rays, right? So even if individuals in India are not using sunscreen, they are still vitamin D deficient because we're not exposing ourselves adequately.
So that settles the matter. In case 90% are deficient in vitamin D, that means these 90% don't need sunblock all over their body anyway.
But what about
Simple.
But then Dr. Anup, we all worry about aging. Aging. What about aging then? If you don't use sunscreen, then you age faster, we hear, if you're exposing yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Aging can increase with sun
but I cannot get rid of the pigmentation. So, most people are of that thought process that I'll use sunscreen, prevent that permanent pigmentation that will probably not even go away with lasers and peeling. And I'll take vitamin D supplementation because at the end of the day, most of the population is taking supplementation anyway. So, the bottom line becomes that they're using sunscreen and they're using vitamin D supplementation. So, I'm always going to be for team sunscreen.
Yeah.
So,
Bharti?
that way, I think it works.
Yeah, Bharti?
Of course, we all want to stay young because the sunscreen, it's we get less wrinkles and fine lines. So we want to use sunscreen on the face, but we can take sun on other parts of the body, at the back, and whenever it is
How do you
less
do
sun.
that? Wear the Chinese mask. You see the Chinese and now they've basically made a mask only for the face so that they can go to the beach without having to worry about getting tanned and aged.
They are
Is
they are
that
very fair. They
our
want to get
next?
tan, but we people don't want to get tan. We want to look fair. So everybody in India want to look fair. So we have to use sunscreen. It's better, and don't use sunscreen on the other part. Whenever you want to have a little more, like doctor said, we have to use. We have to take vitamin D. Otherwise, also
Yeah. No,
we
we
all
are
need to
we
use
are as a
supplements.
population deficient in vitamin D, but not
Yeah.
not using sunscreen. I don't know. This is the both theories are so true because in practice I've seen my mother never using sunscreen ever, but she's fine. But she does take a vitamin D supplement, which so do I, and most people I know are on it. But at the same time, I myself go into the sun when I'm reporting on the field. 1 day or 2 days exposure to the sun, I come back, even if I've worn a sunscreen, and I feel just so dry and, my skin looks tired. I suddenly feel aged 10 years. So it has happened. I feel personally, my personal experience without sunscreen out in the sun is real damage to my skin.
No, if you use moisturizing sunscreen, it won't make your skin dry. And use little makeup. You people are using makeup all the time. Once you use makeup, sunscreen is under the makeup, and it helps. It helps the sunscreen to stay for a long
I do
time.
it very diligently. I'm very conscious about aging and all of that. but I don't know. My mom's just managed this trick of looking young and yet never using the sunscreen. Dr. Akriti, I cut you short. Sorry.
No. I was just saying that sunscreens will prevent UV damage, not tanning. Tanning is a natural response of the skin to exposure to sunlight, UV radiation, and infrared radiation. That's the skin's normal response to it. Like I said before, also there are different responses that the skin gives when you're exposed to sunlight or UV radiation. It is not just one thing, right? So sunscreen is for preventing UV damage. That is basically damage to your DNA, right? That DNA damage is what can in the future, when it, that gets accumulated and there are other things that will further trigger, that can lead to cancers like basal cell carcinoma that was reported in the case that was there.
All right. Well, Dr. Anup, what would be your last and final suggestion? If one has to use a sunscreen, what are the markers, anything that to look on the label to see if this is safe? Because benzene, which is a cancerous carcinogenic agent that's been found in some of the sunscreens, and also few moisturizing creams also have benzene that was detected.
Yes.
Now, how do we know what's safe, what's not?
Well, the old kitchen remedies were still the safest. But if you have to use a sunscreen and you want to prevent tanning, then zinc-based sunscreens are very good, but they unfortunately they show. You must have seen Indian team whenever they go to Australia, they put those white.
Right. It has a white cast.
Yeah, that is anti-tanning. But otherwise, normal sunscreens they do not have that level of zinc, so they do prevent UV damage, but they may not be preventing entirely the tanning. My final advice is that you should balance it out. Like you have to follow middle path in life for everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to overdo it. Don't have to apply it on all through your body because that will hamper the vitamin D. This thing and the problem is that vitamin D deficiency is unknown to significant number of people, and the poorer people they've never got them checked. If the poor man is sitting inside the house and working, he'll have a lot of deficiency, but he would not. And with the result that his hormonal level and other things can take a beating, and that is the problem.
Right, very true. Final word, Ms. Bharati?
About the white cast, he was telling, we have, yachat bhasam, we make bhasm of zinc. And then put it in the cream, and then there's no white cast. If you use yachat bhasam, and that is a beautiful sunscreen. We have herbal sunscreens which are available.
You got a good chance to market your product here. Right.
Herbal, organic,
they make you
laser.
look younger as well. So you can use those sunscreens. Use them nicely. properly and use little makeup if you are going out. So that will also help you to look young, beautiful, and no wrinkles as well.
Herbal, organic, laser, and robotic. These are few prefixes they've attached.
No, I
They're very good for
don't believe
marketing.
it.
Very
No,
good
no,
for
no, I don't-
marketing.
Yeah,
Okay.
herbal, organic, so, robotic.
Yeah,
Laser.
final word,
Yeah.
let me take it from Dr. Akriti. One is on what can you eat to ensure that that you prevent yourself from sun damage. Even food, what you consume, is also very vital. And another on the white cast, very aptly said by Dr. Anu. That's one thing that as women run away from. So now products are marketing itself as a sunscreen without the white cast. So would it mean it's as effective?
No,
So
they don't do any white cast, and they
Yeah,
are definitely.
Yeah, Dr. Akriti will give us a
very
little
good
medical
sunscreens.
perspective on that. Yeah.
So the white cast is basically because of the UV filter. Now, what sunscreens usually have, why they prevent UV damage, is because of the UV filter they have. Now, UV filter is also of two types. That is, it can be physical, which is usually zinc oxide, like Sir mentioned, and titanium dioxide. Now, these physical filters, by how do they work? They absorb and reflect the light, right? So they leave a cast since they have to make a filter. These days, you don't have sunscreens, that leave a cast. They market it as, oh, this does not have a cast. Why? Because they're using chemical UV filters. Now, these have a different form of action. They absorb
I won't
and
agree.
disintegrate the light, right?
No, I
So
won't
when
agree.
they
No,
do
I
that,
won't agree.
that's the basic.
Okay,
So
okay,
when
go
they
on.
do that, that is when they do not leave that white cast because of the nature of the molecule itself.
No. Instead
just
of zinc
basic
oxide, if you
sunscreen filters.
use bhasm of zinc, there won't be any white cast. That is the difference. And if there, otherwise people use some color also. Many
there
moisturizing creams
are
are
studies
with
that
color,
say if you
with skin
reduce
color, so
the
there's no white
size
cast. But
of the zinc particle, then you don't get the white cast. But there are also studies that say that if you reduce the size of the zinc particle, it might not be as effective as a UV filter.
Okay.
it's only using bhasm of zinc, not white, not less particles. The bhasm of zinc, which doesn't give any white cast.
Okay. That's Ayurvedic?
Yes, that's Ayurvedic.
Okay, good on you, ma'am. I hope your product gets sold through this show. Thank you. But I really appreciate all of you, Dr. Anu, Dr. Akriti, and Ms. Bharti, for joining us on this and
Thank you.
shedding much
Thank you.
needed expertise on that. A quick break. We'll be right back with all our top stories. Stay with us.
मुझसे नहीं हो गया।
उनको देख रहे हो?
क्या संगीत तक ये स्टेप सीख पाएंगे? ये खूबसूरत चिंता आप करिए। शादी के पर्सनल लोन की चिंता हम संभाल लेंगे। With EMI starting at 94 rupees per day and tenure up to 7 years.
Breaking news. Major disruption is expected this week.
Yes, disruption confirmed. That's me. Relax, no scams, just my brand new show, News Cosmic with Cyrus.
Dreaming about me?
Love is to get lost in the look. Unlimited Love B6 Pack 2 starts at 21.9 lakh.
नई गाड़ी लेनी पड़ेगी।
हाँ, हमें भी।
शोरूम खोला जल्दी।
संभल कर। अंदर महंगा इंश्योरेंस बेचने की पूरी कोशिश हो सकती है, जबरदस्ती।
कौन करेगा जबरदस्ती? खोड़ दूंगा इधर मैं।
रिलैक्स कमलाकर, कोई जबरदस्ती नहीं है। नई गाड़ी के लिए हम एको कार इंश्योरेंस ही लेंगे।
फेयर प्राइस, कम प्रीमियम।
बात खत्म।
खत्म।
सर बात खत्म मेरे साथ। अरे सर।
कार का एक्शन हीरो एको।
What if they laugh at you? Why would anyone listen to you? Am I afraid? What does being scared mean? How do I move forward?
people react to their internal fears. You face it, you overcome it, actually become better.
Welcome back. Let me start with our top story right here on Day to Night. Zubeen Garg, the singer who passed away, an untimely death. The investigation now deepens. In big development in Zubeen Garg's death, the CID has now gone into arresting a musician, Shekhar Jyoti Goswami, and co-singer Amrit Prava Mahanta, both who were in Singapore during the incident, were detained after 6 days of questioning, and fresh evidence links them to events leading up to the singer's demise. Meanwhile, the Assam police has also slapped murder charges on Zubeen Garg's manager, Siddharth Sharma, and the festival organizer, Shyamkanu Mahanta, in connection with Zubeen's death in Singapore. The two were arrested from Delhi. In fact, both of them, Shyamkanu and Siddharth, were both absconding for quite a few days. Finally, a day ago, they were arrested and are now reprimanded to 14-day police custody by Guwahati court. Section 103 of the BNS has been imposed, which deals with punishment for murder. And that's been added to the FIR, stringent sections. Earlier, Siddharth Sharma and Mahanta were booked for culpable homicide not amounting to murder, criminal conspiracy and causing death by negligence. But it seems like the murder charge that's now been added really adds another dimension in this case and in the investigation. Zubeen Garg died on the 19th of September after swimming near the St. John's Island in Singapore. Singapore police ruled out foul play, shared a autopsy report and preliminary findings with the Indian High Commission. Zubeen Garg's death certificate cites drowning as the cause. This is all basically done in Singapore, and Singapore believes that it was a natural death, that he died due to drowning. Though the wife of Zubeen Garg says that Zubeen had epileptic seizures. He had this problem in the past and he wasn't supposed to be going into water like that without a life jacket, but he still did, under the watch of Shyamkanu and Siddharth, who very well knew that he had the problem and should not have gone into water like that unmonitored. Now, Shyamkanu Mahanta, there's a lot of narratives that's now being unleashed, that there's been a bid to protect Shyamkanu Mahanta. He was on the run for a while. Finally, he's been arrested. We believe he is the younger brother of former DGP Bhaskar Jyoti Mahanta, currently Assam's Chief Information Officer, or currently Assam's Chief Information Commissioner, while his elder brother, Nani Gopal Mahanta, is Guwahati University Vice Chancellor. So, seems influential, and this is precisely the concern that people have, that he may be protected for that reason. Nonetheless, Assam government has insisted that they're doing everything they can to ensure they get to the bottom of it, and it's a fair investigation. Zubeen Garg's wife, who spoke to News 9, said elaborately that these are the people, Shyamkanu and Siddharth, who let him in the water without a life vest, despite the doctor's advice. Even though he had epilepsy, manager knew about it, but yet allowed him to go into water unmonitored. She praised Zubeen's pure-hearted nature and the bond that he had with his fans while breaking down, speaking to News 9. All right, shifting our focus here to Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who's voiced concern over Pakistan's military build-up near Sir Creek, warning Islamabad to remember that one route to Karachi passes through the creek. Speaking at a Shastra Pujan event, he accused Pakistan of deliberately keeping the dispute alive for 78 years, despite India's efforts at dialogue, and recalled that during Operation Sindoor, India's forces proved they can eliminate any threat to the nation's sovereignty.
साथियों, आजादी के 78 साल बीत जाने के बावजूद सरक्रीक इलाके में सीमा को लेकर एक विवाद खड़ा किया जाता है। भारत ने कई बार बातचीत के रास्ते इसका समाधान करने का प्रयास किया है, मगर पाकिस्तान की नीयत में खोट है, उसकी नीयत साफ नहीं है। जिस तरह से हाल में पाकिस्तान की फौज ने सरक्रीक के सटे इलाकों में अपना मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ाया है, वह उसकी नीयत बताता है। साथियों, भारत की सीमाओं की रक्षा भारतीय सेनाएं और बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी फोर्स मिलकर मुस्तैदी से कर रही हैं। अगर सरक्रीक इलाके में पाकिस्तान की ओर से कोई भी हिमाकत की गई तो उसे ऐसा करारा जवाब मिलेगा कि इतिहास और भूगोल दोनों बदल जाएंगे मेरे साथियों।
Well, there you have it. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh there warning Pakistan on the military build-up along Sir Creek. Now, Sir Creek is a 96-kilometre estuary in the Run of Kutch, dividing Gujarat from Pakistan's Sindh province, once called Banganga. It was renamed after a British officer. India says the boundary lies in the middle, while Pakistan claims it runs along the eastern bank. Sir Creek holds both strategic and economic importance. It's key for naval patrols and coastal security. It's also one of Asia's largest fishing grounds and is believed to hold untapped reserves of oil, gas and minerals, which Pakistan clearly now racing ahead to claim. The dispute centers on differing interpretations of the maritime boundary. Creek's location is vital for naval patrols and coastal security in Arabian Sea. It's one of Asia's largest fishing grounds, and like I did mention here, at this point, it's important that India stays clear about its boundary, and seems like Rajnath Singh has said what he has to say, warning Islamabad not to overstep. Remember 1914, a British verdict gave conflicting clauses, one favouring Sindh, another supporting division along the mid-channel, backing India's stand. Surveys have upheld India's view, but Pakistan continues to dispute it. The Run of Kutch was among the flashpoints of the 1965 war. After British mediation, an arbitration tribunal ruled in 1968, granting Pakistan 9,000 square kilometres, only 10% of what it had claimed. Since 1969, 13 rounds of talks have been held, but Sir Creek's dispute remains unresolved. All right, shifting our focus to a dispute now between Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, with two ministers facing off, Nara, Lokesh and Priyank Kharge. Now, we're looking at Nara, Lokesh and Priyank Kharge at this point, going at one another over infrastructure in Karnataka. A political tech war has ignited between Andhra Pradesh IT Minister Nara Lokesh and Karnataka's IT-BT Minister Priyank Kharge. The clash began when Lokesh took aim at Bengaluru's crumbling outer ring road, pitching Anantapur as the new haven for startups. Basically, a move that Karnataka is now furious with, sparking quite a sharp and fiery response from Priyank Kharge. Let me tell you first what Nara Lokesh said. He said, "North sounds good, slightly more north is Anantapur, where we are building a world-class aerospace and defense ecosystem." This is basically him attempting a cheeky pitch to lure companies across the border. For companies who find it difficult to establish in the IT sector in Bengaluru, owing to all the infrastructure, dilapidated infrastructure and the chaos, traffic and whatnot, Nara Lokesh says, why don't you try Andhra Pradesh's Anantapur? Priyank Kharge, Karnataka's IT minister, responded sharply, calling Nara Lokesh a parasite, saying he's desperately scavenging. In a long post on X, Kharge said, weaker ecosystems naturally feed off stronger ones, but when it becomes scavenging, it reflects weakness. He underlined Bengaluru's unmatched growth, citing an 8.5% GDP growth in Bengaluru, a projection till 2035, and also spoke about a booming property market, global recognition that Bengaluru has, and how it's the fastest growing world city. Now, just when we thought the war of words had died, Nara Lokesh yet again responded with a message that says, arrogance, like potholes on the road, should be fixed first before the journey gets stripped off. All right, now our focus on RCB. It's not too sure if it's good news or bad news, but RCB is up for sale. United Spirits Limited, the owners of Royal Challengers Bengaluru, have reportedly put the IPL franchise up for sale. USL, a subsidiary of British beverage giant Diageo, is seeking a valuation of nearly $2 billion. That's around 17,762 crores for the team, according to media reports. Now, Adar Poonawalla, CEO of Serum Institute of India, has emerged as a front runner to acquire the entire stake in RCB. But he said, I've got to get the right valuation. I'm keenly looking into it. Global investment bank Citi has been appointed as the transaction advisor for this deal. Sources say potential buyers are looking to acquire the entire franchise, not just a part of it. Diageo, though, has refused to comment on market speculation yet. Adding fuel to the rumours, IPL's first commissioner, Lalit Modi, tweeted that RCB could be taken off USL's balance sheet and sold, calling it a potential record-breaking valuation given the team's recent IPL win, large fan base and strong management. Basically suggesting that this is the best buy. If anyone wants to buy RCB at this point, this is possibly the best buy because the team just won the recent IPL and it has the biggest and the strongest fan base in the world. The move comes shortly after Gujarat Titans' majority stake was sold, with Torrent Group acquiring 67% of GT from Aurelia Company Private Limited, owned by CVC Capital. So now the next is RCB, and this has really raised a lot of questions as to how much it will be sold at and if RCB's sale will really hold a new benchmark. All right, a shocking story that's coming to light. Comedian Munawar Farooqi, his life was under threat. There was a bid to murder him and that was busted. In fact, stand-up comedian Munawar Farooqi narrowly escaped a planned attack after Delhi police foiled a murder plot against him. The plot, authorities say, was hatched by gangsters Rohit Godara and Goldie Brar, who allegedly took offence at Farooqi's jokes on Hindu gods. Sources say the Delhi police counter-intelligence team tracked shooters Rahul and Sahil, who are wanted in a Haryana triple murder case as well. In fact, they tracked them down to the national capital. When confronted around 3 a.m. on a bike, the shooters opened fire at the police, but police retaliated, injuring them on the leg and then immediately arresting them. During questioning, it's emerged the shooters were in Delhi on instructions from Godara and Goldie Brar, who are now abroad. The attackers had previously conducted a recce of Farooqi's house in Mumbai and Bengaluru, we hear. In Bengaluru, their plan failed when Farooqi left an event in a different car. Farooqi, a 33-year-old comedian known for his stand-up acts, TV appearances, Big Boss stint, has faced legal trouble before for jokes that he's made on Hindu deities, including 2021 arrest as well in Madhya Pradesh and a detention last year in Mumbai. And here you have attempts to attack him, which was foiled by the Delhi police. All right, now Maharashtra is open 24/7. Maybe a big relief for a lot of them who want to do business and who want to go out. Maharashtra government has now allowed most shops and establishments to operate 24 hours a day. Maharashtra now will be open for 24 hours, with the only exception being outlets that serve or sell alcohol like bars and wine shops. They will have a time limit, but the government now has allowed for the state to be open 24/7. Industries, Energy, Labour and Mining Department issued a circular in Maharashtra to in fact clarify this move as well. Following complaints, the local authorities and the police were restricting businesses from staying open round the clock. So here you have an official notification that's coming from the government itself that places can be open 24/7. The order also removes theatres and cinema halls from regulated hours, giving establishments now greater operational flexibility. Citing the Maharashtra Shops and Establishments Act 2017, the government of Maharashtra clarifies that businesses can stay open 24/7 provided employees get a 24-hour weekly rest period. Officials say the decision is expected to boost business activity and make it easier for shops and commercial establishments across the state to operate without restrictions. All right, now we have the richest list, and Shah Rukh Khan seems to top it. And here you have the Haroon's list. Shah Rukh Khan has officially joined the billionaire club, becoming the world's richest actor with a staggering net worth of $1.4 billion, or that's about 12,490 crores. According to Haroon India Rich List 2025 that was released, the 59-year-old actor, who's hailed as Bollywood's Badshah, makes his first ever entry into the global billionaire rank, surpassing international icons like Taylor Swift, who is valued at 1.3 billion, Arnold Schwarzenegger, 1.2 billion, Jerry Seinfeld, 1.2 billion, Selena Gomez at 720 million. While long India's richest actor, the ratings ranking show Shah Rukh Khan widening the wealth gap with his peers. So if you compare Shah Rukh Khan to his peers here in India, so Shah Rukh Khan of course topping the list globally, then in India you have Juhi Chawla and family who follow with 7,790 crores they are valued at. Hrithik Roshan post is third at the spot, 2,160 crores. Just last year his fortune was 870 million, highlighting the success of his expanding ventures. So Hrithik has really, grown leaps. Beyond films, Shah Rukh Khan's empire includes Red Chillies Entertainment, a cutting-edge VFX studio, stakes in cricket franchises, prime real estate in the Middle East, and India, of course, cementing his status as both a cinematic legend and a global entrepreneur. All right, that's it. Thanks very much for tuning in. Have a great day. Enjoy your festive season.
Alakazam fish disappear. Moonlight.
Smooth, silent, seamless. Sliding systems from headache.
भाई ऑन रोड या ऑफ रोड?
रोड ट्रिप पे किस बाइक की सवारी होगी, ये खूबसूरत चिंता आप करिए। 2 व्हीलर लोन की चिंता हम संभाल लेंगे विद स्पॉट अप्रूवल एंड लोन अप टू 95%।